So that was awesome. But because a lot of our early clients, many of whom are still clients to this day, but a lot of our early clients were people who were out of work, decided to start their own companies. Kind of, even though we work more with established companies now, we still have a following and a name for working with startups, because that's what we did for so many years. So yeah, I'm still picking up new people because anytime there's an economic crisis and you can't find a job, you're like, let's start a company.
Yeah.
But
yes,
some people do well at it because, like I said, some of those people from the early years of my company, who started businesses because they couldn't find jobs, are still in business today.
One line I heard was, I love being my own boss. I hate being my own employee.
Yeah.
I'm really laid back as a boss, like to the point where we don't keep timesheets because I don't want to worry about schedules and when you're here and when you're not. So being my own employee is not that bad because I'm just like, whatever, is the work getting done? Of course, I'm probably more behind than my team, but you know.
Well, one of the areas of business where the timesheet issues really kind of run rampant is in law. And in most law firms, the pressure to bill is intense.
Mm-hmm.
And when we started our firm, we made a decision that the quality of life and family was paramount. And so we had no billing requirements. I mean, you got paid according to what you worked, but
Yeah.
we didn't have any requirements because, I mean, when you have a 2,000 hour requirement per year, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen 2,400 hours
Yeah.
required. That's just insane.
That's just a sweatshop there. And the accounting industry is like that a lot too. We actually have some trouble recruiting because a lot of people are used to the sweatshop, and then they come here and they don't quite know what to do with that. I guess, you know.
They have to change their norm.
We try, but I think it's sort of like in Shawshank Redemption, when Red got out of prison after like 50 years and he couldn't even go to the bathroom without asking somebody because he was just so used to it.
That's great. You've got a place for that. All right. So welcome to Adam's Friday Flow again. We've got this nice setup here that we can talk about with the presentation. So we're all live on YouTube, in case you didn't notice. And and for the YouTube thing, you can use it for any of your social media and stuff. So it's free for people to use. And the topic for today is going to be the first thing we do. Then we do attendance greetings. Then we open discussion. Then we have actions ask at the end, which I'll try and aim for, like, starting that at 50 or before. So, and here we go. The challenge question today is, how do you explain it when you trust someone? Welcome to Adam's Friday Flow with Entrepreneurs, where we challenge each other with critical questions and making work far more enjoyable. So our topic today is trust clarified. And the reason this is important is because we thrive on trust, especially when we want to provide products and services to people, but even when we're working with other people in our own team. And how do we do this is actually pretty difficult because we often mean different things when we talk about trust and have a difficult time translating to someone, oh, I trust you here, but not there. And so something that could help is the ABCDs that Ken Blanchard came up with. Okay. So what you're going to do is go ahead and paste in the chat. All right, head on out, kids. So the paste in the chat any information you'd like me to use when I put on the description for the YouTube. Also, please paste if you have a page you'd like me to click on while you're talking. I'll open that up and it'll be a nice background so we can learn more about you and what you do, and we can promote you. And then intro norms, you're gonna give your name, your company, yourself, brief story about what you do, maybe some examples or something, and an ideal client kind of thing. And then we'll move on. So I'm gonna stop my share here so that I'm gonna do this part. I'm Adam Sparks Brechtel, and my company is Sparks Flow. What I like to do is enliven businesses. So taking family businesses so that they can do all kinds of cool things and feel like they're even doing more in their work and enjoying everything outside of their friends, families, and hobbies. That's what I get to do. And I don't know exactly who came first, but on my screen I have Phil, followed by Lisa, then Alan, then Annie, and then JJ. And I'm gonna change my screen view to see if there's someone else that I didn't miss. Nope, that's us. Okay. So if someone else shows up, I may or may not see him because of screen view, but so Phil, Lisa, Alan, JJ, and Annie. You're up, Phil.
So you can scroll along the videos on the bottom, and it will show you all the rest of the people that are up there. But Phil is a partially semi-retired consultant. I actually found a book publisher. I think I found a book publisher for my book.
Congratulations.
So I've got an interview with them on Monday. So hopefully I'm going to be moving into being a published author. I think everybody knows about me other than that. I run strategy, developing business, working with businesses of all shapes, sizes, industries, from Afghanistan to Europe to the USA.
I like the list of places. That makes it really intriguing.
And I'm out in my car today, so I might have to drop off.
That's understandable. Way to be flexible. Lisa.
Good morning. So my name is Lisa McGarry. I run Proficient Financial Management. There are so many things that we do. I sometimes don't know quite which one to pinpoint in a given week. But essentially we do accounting and technology, not IT, but more figuring out what your key platform is if you don't already know what that platform is in your business, and getting your accounting workflows to work around that platform, as opposed to saying, okay, come in, use QuickBooks, and trying to make your business work around QuickBooks or Xero or whatever, because we actually use a variety of accounting platforms. So that, I think, is one of the more unique things that our firm does, since I know a lot of shops are kind of one software only. We work a lot with specialty trade contractors, so plumbers, electricians, HVAC. We do serve other industries as well. Have a lot of real estate clients. I can't say we're quite as exotic as Phil, working all over the world, because of course, we deal with one tax code and that's kind of enough. But we do have clients all over the United States.
Like where, other than Texas?
Texas, New Mexico, California, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Arizona.
That's great.
Yeah, that's off the top of my head.
If you remember someone else, you can mention it later.
There you go.
Alan.
I'm Alan Ramos, and I've retired from 6 different careers. I'm now generally an observer of life and occasional commentator, but this week I stepped out of my normal role and put in a 14-hour day as a poll worker. And I found it very rewarding. And one of the highlights was meeting some young people who were voting for the very first time and seeing how excited they were. It was, I'm really glad I did it. It's
great.
That's me.
Good job, Alan. Good
Thank
job,
you.
Alan.
Nice. All right, Alan, did you want to post your website on the chat so I pull
I
it
no
up?
longer have a website.
Oh, did I say Alan? I meant JJ.
Okay.
You might notice after experiencing me for a while, my name thing is switching. It's like my mom who would go through the whole list of kids. So my brain doesn't hold on to those very well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Jay,
my
did you-
sister was known as Sue Allen for a long time.
Yeah, I'm afraid my formative years were known as Puppy Pazzo Chanana Lisa.
that's
Two of those were just not humans, but they lived in our house too. So yeah.
that's funny. Good details. So JJ, did you want me to pull up a website?
No, I can post it in here in a second after, but I appreciate that. Again, my name is JJ Alcantar. I'm with the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce, and we're a community of business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals committed to empowering individuals through economic growth. But more importantly, we're here to collaborate, be creative, develop a trust and partnership with all of our business owners, and really, showcase and highlight what you do and your community outreach, and we provide so many resources. Obviously, from a business standpoint, we have the Small Business Development Center here at the Chamber, Convention and Tourism, quite a few resources, the Minority Business Development Agency to help, whether it be if you have your idea on paper and how to get that to come to fruition, or you're a large scale business and you want to start scaling and look at profit margin, those types of things. So tons of resources from that perspective. So that's a little bit about the chamber, and
one of your newest members is here.
yes,
it's actually hosting the thing.
So I wasn't going to bring it up. Very humble of you. I appreciate that. We're going to keep the sparks flowing. That's for sure. So
that's great.
Proud new member. One of the first things that, we wanted to be creative with Adam is obviously to get in front of our board, in front of our membership, and explain what he does and hand over those leads and referrals for him, obviously. But we're excited about that. And I was excited too, even on Wednesdays, we had Diane, for those of you who were on there from the Recovery Lab.
Oh yeah.
After that, she came down here to the campus. I gave her a tour, and we're going to partner
cool.
up. And we've got a lot of cool events and a lot of initiatives with her. I'm thinking more of like a PPE drive, because we partnered with, we got a grant from the city and the state. And one of the PPP programs is going to be actually here on campus as well. And what they've tasked us to do, and they gave us a pretty significant amount of money in a grant to hand out tons of PPE bags and equipment. So we're excited about that. So yeah, a lot of cool things that we're doing. Obviously, yeah, go to our website, our Facebook page. Every weekend we're doing a different event within guidelines, obviously. Storytellers, different things to showcase local musicians, artisans, anybody who's really struggling during COVID. We have a lot of COVID resources as well. So really, really appreciative, and I'm very thankful and grateful for sure. So Adam, I appreciate you mentioning that.
You bet. You guys have got like a robust response to the situation, and it's it speaks volumes for what you guys can provide for anyone who wants to join. And so it's and even like what you said, like coming to 1 Million Cups on Wednesday, the fact that you were able to connect with Diane right away, who is new to the whole industry, everything together, trying to get out on our own. And so that's great. And you showing up at different events, and that's a good sign. It's wonderful stuff. Thank you, JJ. All right, and Annie.
Hey, good morning. Annie Irizarry, founder of Core Community Housing in the Sustainable Real Estate Community Development. So we're working on the proposal today. Phil and I, at least, are working on the National Science Foundation proposal. That's the one thing we're trying to get that out the door, to get that $1.5 million capital seed funding. So that's the one thing. A couple of things I kind of want to announce. This interesting event, virtual event, with the Tiny House Virtual Conference, November 13th and 15th. I thought that was interesting, so I thought I'd share that event. It's certainly something that interests me, at least. I've always been fascinated with the tiny house community. So I'm going to go to that one. So I'm going to see what they're doing and what's up with that. be educated. So that's one thing. What's the other one is, what's the other thing that I want to kind of announce as well besides that one? So yeah, so that's, those are very, very interesting events. So yeah, also the other thing I want to share is me being in a real estate, industry, if you will. I decided to, register my home to house professionals who are coming through, who are traveling professionals, and rent a room in my house. I figured, hey, I might as well be creative. So I registered my house as a rent a room to professionals, traveling professionals, medical professionals, and professors, and all kinds of traveling professionals. So I'm kind of getting into that one, which is kind of a unique thing. I thought that was interesting, so I thought I'd give that a try. And so, hey, I'm getting some interest, certainly. People who are, they're here for 6-week assignment, 3-month assignment, and they're looking for a room to rent in New Mexico. Some are at UNM Hospital, some are West Presbyterian, the registered nurses or physical therapists, or they're just here for short term. I figured, why not? It's a way to help others out who are here for the short term. It's a different kind of a business model. It's kind of like an Airbnb, but they're only looking for short term. So
did you put it on your website, or do you
I'm registered
are you doing that
with
through
the
somebody
company.
else?
It's registered with Furnish Finders. So, so I have to register it. So they vet the professionals, and then they vet the homeowners. Or you could do your own if you have an apartment building. Furnishfinder.com, right? Traveling, not just traveling nurse, but traveling medical professionals or traveling professionals, period.
Huh.
So you pay a fee, right? It's kind of like an Airbnb, but it's not the general public. It's more professionals, and the professionals are
Wow.
vetted. The backgrounds are checked out, and then the owners are also checked out.
That's
So,
cool.
so you kind of set your own price, and they kind of guide you through the process. And a lot of them they already have employment. They already have an employer coming in. So in a way, you've got, you're not just going on Craigslist. People are vetted, and you rent a room out of your house, and you tell them your amenities and what you've got. And you could rent the whole house, or you could just rent a room. And your background is checked out. You check out their background. So you're kind of getting people who are a little bit more, you're not just getting any Tom, Dick, and Harry, right? And you're getting them for a set period of time, whether it's 30 days, 90 days, 6 months. And they call you, and then you find out about each other. So that's kind of what I'm doing on the side. Me being the entrepreneur that I am in the real estate, I'm just finding out different ways of sources of income. That's all.
That's great. Bit of ingenuity.
Right.
That's
So
a
I'm
nifty
trying
thing.
to do creative ways of creating income for myself. That's all.
Cool. Well, thank you for that. That would be kind of fun to do.
Right. It's a fun way to do it. It's almost like I'm turning my home into my own B&B, if you will. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. All right. So and that's great. And one of the things that they would do is they have ways of building up trust here too, right?
Right, exactly.
Because they have the background checks that you can do. Or was that?
I can say yes, and I can make my house available when I feel like it. It's whenever I can make it available on my own schedule, on my own terms.
Yeah.
Right. So if I don't feel like, if I'm on holiday for 3 months, then I'm on holiday. I can say my house is not available, and that's it.
Wow. That's cool. I got all excited closing up things, so now I got to find my thing. But that's neat, and that's a huge thing when people are moving around too, like how they build trust.
Exactly.
So talking about that, Do have you guys ever heard of the ABCDs of trust?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, that's cool. I got something to show. So first of all, how do you guys, like, when you explain that you trust somebody, how do you explain that? Like, how does that come around and how do you describe it?
I think it just comes out of a conversation, depending on your conversation, at least for me. You know, it's a result of a conversation, not necessarily an explicit question, but more of a, you know, it evolves from a conversation.
Okay. How else?
For me, there's a kind of a basic tenet that I've subscribed to for about 50 years. And it's the adage of what you do speaks so loudly, I can't hear a word you say. So I just kind of accept people for how they represent themselves, but I don't give a level of trust that puts me at risk. That has to develop over time. And I also intertwine the concepts of trust, ethics, reputation, and that's one of those areas that it takes a lifetime to build and a moment to lose. So for me, it's a fairly complex process. I think that you don't want to be, you have to develop, in my mind, you have to develop a level of healthy cynicism and skepticism, because you know that many people talk a really good game and some of them actually do what they say they're going to do. So it's kind of like, if you tell me that you're going to do something, I'll accept that, but I'll wait to see if you do it. The other side of that is the standard that I hold myself to. And one of my work ethics was, if I ever make a mistake, my client is going to hear it from me. So one of the first things I do, and I don't make that many mistakes, but I go to my client immediately and let them know that I've made a mistake. And that leads to credibility. If my client hears that I've made a mistake from someone else, or they find out for themselves, my credibility is shot. And so I just take it as a matter of faith that I don't hold anyone to a higher standard than I do myself. So that's how I develop trust. But it's kind of like respect. I grant you respect when I meet you. And if that gets lost, that's on you. You don't have to earn my respect. I give you that opportunity from the first moment.
Wow, I'll jump in, Adam. I think Alan summed it up for all of us right there. But I think it's the reliance of, one another, keeping your word. I like what he said. And for me, I think about, me and you now, Adam, there was a level of trust of you joining the chamber. And for me, it's keeping my word and holding that and showing you value. That's really important to me. And you trusted in the fact of, what I've told you and what we have to offer and how to be creative. So I think that's really, really important.
And I'm glad you're talking about your business through this.
Yeah.
Through this little example, because that's one of the designs of this, is that
Sure.
it's good to be able to talk about how our business is growing and using these, like our discussion topics.
Yeah, but that's the last thing we want to do. And being new to the chamber, it's one of the things that I'm trying to resolve from past experiences with some people out there, and that's why I'm just so transparent. And we've got to learn from those mistakes and have those tough conversations at times with some people. And what I mean by that is, I've had members come to me and say, I don't want to renew, or I don't want to join because you showed me no value. And that's tough for me to hear. But being new, it's like, okay, so I want a hands-on approach now. I want more of an onboarding process, right? But at the end of the day, I'm telling my staff and my employees, if they don't see you, they don't trust you.
Yeah, my first employer said something to me. I was only 16 at the time, but it stuck with me throughout my life. It was a restaurant. And he said, you know, people may not know why they come here, but they'll never forget why they don't.
Yeah. Phil, what do you have?
Me, I like the values that Alan has. I think for me, I'm pretty open. I'm a very social person. So I can remember when I first met Alan at 1 Million Cups. And I'm using Alan as an example because he's here. And just having that initial conversation. And I think you get a feeling with people, all right, that you feel some good vibes or you don't feel good vibes when you have initial conversations. There have been other people I've had conversations with at 1 Million Cups, and I'm a bit more wary about them and going back to them. And so I think you build trust as you build a relationship. And I've taken that approach when I've been at work as well. So if people are working for me, I actually say to them, you know, I'm expecting you to do X, Y, Z, and if you deliver, then it's fine. And if there's something going wrong, then you need to tell me. And that for me is a level of trust, and I'm gladly give it. And I remember my first management job as an actual manager. I actually talked my manager, or the manager that was my manager, into giving me the position. He didn't want to give me the position, but I told him that, or I tried to talk him into the fact that I could do this job and I could perform for him, and I would do. And he gave me a level of trust there, and I did, and I was successful. But I think the crucial point is as you develop relationships, the trust grows more and more and more. But it can easily be taken away if somebody does something that's 180 degrees from what you're expecting, and they have no remorse about it whatsoever. And it can be lost in a second.
Yeah. Lisa.
Well, there are different kinds of trust, though, aren't there? There's professional trust. I mean, you may trust somebody to perform neurosurgery, or, you know, to win your case in court, or, you know, so you trust their professional credentials. Perhaps you've seen what they've done before, they have a track record, but maybe you wouldn't trust these people with, you know, parts of your personal life. You know, there are people who are really great at what they do, but at the same time, you know, maybe they're not particularly great in their personal lives. Which perhaps doesn't matter if that's not their professional life as well.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
and I think professional trust is a lot easier, you know, because it's a lot easier to find someone's accolades, detractions in their professional life, and they're in large part easier to prove. You know, if somebody's won a case in court, it's a matter of public record. If somebody's won many cases, it's a matter of public record. Well, unless it's like family court or something, but you know, but personally, not everything is nearly as documented.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Personal trust, and you can work with somebody professionally and trust them personally, and you know, but not want to share really any part of your personal life with them. And it's a strictly business relationship. So yeah.
That's a great I like when people can clarify things and like think about them in more like different ways, and that's kind of the big thing. And that's what comes into this ABCD stuff. And it was actually done by Ken Blanchard, and there's supposed to be on this page, I'm looking for a graphic that I'm not seeing now that was there a moment ago. That's disappointing. Arg. Oh well, I'll do it again. Okay. So Ken Blanchard he wrote like the Minute Manager, but let me see. So ABCDs of trust. And so it basically is, what he did is he did this test or this study with people about trust. And like he surveyed them to explain what they heard or how they talked about trust. And so that's the image I was looking for, but I don't know why it wasn't there. And so here's the thing is for A, you've got accountability. No, it's not accountability. That's just another A word. Sorry. Let's see if this pulls up nicely. So A is able, B is believable, C is connected, and D is dependable. So not now, thanks. Okay, so this guy, what? All right, I'll go to this page. But so the ability
Sorry, Adam,
is,
I've got to. Sorry, Adam, I've got to drop off. Bye, everybody, because I'm driving
Bye.
now, and
Bye,
I'm
Phil.
not going to listen while I drive.
Bye, Phil.
great. Thanks, Phil. So, ability. Oh, came back to this one. This is annoying. That's weird. Weird. Okay. Anyway, so I don't need that, I guess, but I'll go back to a screen share of the whiteboard then, since that thing's being funky. All right. Save that. And then they save show and finder. I don't know. There we go. I don't know what this is doing, but I'm gonna get a new page, and the way I do that is, I thought there was a way to get a new page on here. Redo, clear, format, undo, eraser, spotlight, stamp, draw, select. I don't know. That's weird. Now I'm trying to use this tool, and I think they've changed it on me since I used it last.
No new page, you can't do a new page?
Doesn't look like it. It has select, text, draw, stamp, spotlight, eraser, format, undo, redo, clear, and save. And then save like asked me to show in Finder, and I don't know what that's about. It's like, okay, so did I save it or I did not save it?
Save it as page 1, then do a page 2. That's what I would do.
Yeah, am I saving it right now? Is it already saved? This is not very clear. They're not building my trust in their product right now. So I'm showing and I don't understand. So save, show in Finder, whiteboard saved. Oh, okay, it did say whiteboard saved. I don't know where it's saved at. So it used to be that you could just switch from one to the next, like, you know, oh, a new page or something like that. So let me go, if I go back to my share settings, a whiteboard, phone, I don't know. Anyway, so I guess I'll just write over top of this. Now where'd my tools go? Oh wait, there's.
Whiteboard is also my nemesis, if it makes you feel any better, Adam.
Say that again?
Whiteboard is also my nemesis, if it makes you feel any better.
And I thought about like using Google Documents or something to do that, but I wasn't so fast today. But also Google also has lag time. So I'm working on figuring out the right tool, but I'm not too stressed about it. One of my big goals of doing this meetup thing is that it's a kind of a space for us all to sort of practice, you know, what we do and not really stress about it. But I'd like to be able to go to a page and do what I want to do. Oh well. So because I'd like to keep this and I'd like to come back to it, and I used to be able to do that, but it doesn't look like that's an option anymore. All right, so I'll just move these things. There we go. I'll just move to the side, and then I'll take up the center space. That's interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna type it on here. I had a cool graphic that didn't work out nice, and I was even trying to give people the credit by using their site, and that didn't work out as nicely. So probably should have just made something up. But also one of the reasons I'm doing this particular group session is I don't want to have too much preparation I want to do. So on the spot it is. So A is ability, and that is, you know, obviously we can do it. You guys talked about being able to deliver, you know, they were able to do it. This is not something that was really brought up a bunch when you guys were talking, but we could talk more about that. Believability, that's what I think Phil, when you're, well, he's not here anymore. With his story, he was able to get his employer to bump him up into this position because he was able to get him, he was believable. When he said this, he was believable. Now, the interesting thing is someone can be believable, and then they don't deliver. I don't know if I spelled that right. Did I spell that right?
No.
I
How do you spell
before E
believable?
except E except for C. That's the rule.
And it's
And I almost
ABLE.
always do the opposite.
ABLE. There you go.
There we are. So another one of my weaknesses, dyslexia. So, so C is
Connected.
what?
Connected is the
Thank
C.
you. Yeah, and this one is kind of what you're talking about with when you were talking about personal and professional, Lisa. It's not exactly the same thing because you can be connected professionally and not connected personally, which is fine, right? That's a different thing. But it's definitely like when Phil was talking about being sociable and enjoying that social environment. It could go into and it evolves in a conversation. But this is another one that I think is really big, is D for dependable. So if they have delivered, or as like JJ was explaining with the Hispano Chamber of Commerce, you know, he's talking about these things that he's able to deliver and he's able to respond. You can see them out there. They're obvious that he's been doing this. It makes him believable. And, you know, when you tell your stories about the different things you do, like Lisa continues every time you've been consistent talking about how you don't do turnkey systems. You do like, you're very focused on like what the client wants and how you can work with their particular process. And it's more of a personable thing, which makes you connected, real connectable. And Annie, you have done a lot of different businesses, right?
Yes, I
You've
have.
built lots of things, you've done different projects. So you have this ability and that also makes you believable. But anyway, so these are like three different things. And I want to know more about Ken Blanchard's stuff, but this is really handy for me because there's been times when I'm talking with clients and I'm realizing that I'm losing trust because I made a mistake or something else, you know, or I said I could do something, but our understanding was different of what it was that I said I could do, you know, like, you know, whether it was the different parts of it. And so even though I might be able to do something, I didn't communicate it very well. So when I said it, or so when I say things in the future, I may be quite able to, but you know, it's not very believable if I've messed up and done that before. And so I kind of build that back up by continuing to connect. And this is just a really handy tool also for myself in those different situations, because then it sort of develops my understanding of where I messed up and where I can grow. And I'm all about facing the challenges we have.
You know, the irony here is that con men have believable and connected solid. And they have this incredible ability to communicate believability.
But
They-
isn't that because con man was once short for confidence man?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're master strategists when it comes to the human condition. They're totally undependable, and the con usually crashes after a period of time. But I remember a professor of mine telling me that he was conducting a trial of a con man who during the trial was getting money from his victims to pay for his defense. That's how believable he was. So the people who had been conned were funding his defense. I mean, that's pretty astounding to me. But for the rest of us, though all four of those are extremely important. And I think that for me, it's realizing how fragile trust is. And you can't take any of those things for granted.
Yeah, so like dependable is one of those things where you might also show up consistently, right? So by having this Friday flow, I'm dependable that I've done it every time, and when I haven't, I've tried to let you know. But you know, it's and of course that shows ability, but the believability and the connected are slightly different. So and according to this little graphic here, act with integrity and connected, even though you know someone's like talking to you and you can believe what they're saying, you sometimes get this greasy sense about them or something like that. But you might also just get a real warm feeling, you know, that they actually care about people, and you kind of learn that over time. And just because they care doesn't always mean that they're going to be able to do it. Like you can tell they really want to make it happen, right? I hope I give it off the impression that I really want to help people, right? I get the impression from everyone here, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that I can do what I'm hoping I can do for you. So it's kind of this interesting thing of like, you trust the person's intentions, but then they can possibly not deliver it, even though they mean to, you know, and that's kind of a neat thing about that.
The thing about believability is that you don't control that. That's controlled by the listener. They
That's actually a good
believe
point,
you
because
or you
if
don't.
we talk about we go back to our discussion there, we talked about building trust. And one of the things going around now too is that we can't actually build trust. It's sort of sad to say that in one sense, but it's also kind of freeing in another sense, because you recognize what you can and cannot do. We can't build trust. What we do is we earn it. So when you're interacting with other people, you may be able, they may not recognize it. You may be caring, they may not recognize it. You may be believable. And it doesn't matter what you do, if they're not willing to, you know, offer it to you, let it trust, then you don't ever earn it. So it's in relationships and anything, you're basically, it's something you earn.
Well, there's a fundamental thing that you have.
Annie, is there a way that you've seen that you've earned trust in one of these particular categories?
Well, you know, you trust, but you also verify. There's a verification part of trust, right? There is a way to verify. So there's a method by which you need to verify that trust.
Yeah.
Right? So
that's kind of like talking about dependable.
I don't agree that we just have to, it's a gut instinct. There's a scientific way of verifying trust. I mean, I just don't dole it out. You have to verify that to an extent. It's not just the gut instinct. It's often paired. Yes, I'm using my instinct and my judgment to trust that I can trust you, right? But at the same time, I have to verify that with some sort of measurement or scientific way or mathematical way to verify. There is. Whatever industry that is, whatever business you're in, whether it's accounting, whether it's...
Yeah, do you have examples from like your business where you've focused on one of these in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to gather evidence, right? Evidence that says, okay, I can trust that what you say is true. And there has to be supporting evidence that I can trust what you say is indeed, that there are facts to support that.
So you're talking about maintaining reliability.
Right, maintain that it is dependable, that what you say is true. Not, I can't just take your word for it, right? Because as an auditor, and this is true in accounting, right? if somebody says to me, okay, you know, this is $10. Okay, where's the receipt for it? Right? So in accounting,
Yeah.
that's easy enough. I can find the receipt for it, and there's a trail of evidence for that. You see what I'm
And
saying?
you've experienced, yeah.
I've experienced that. And if there's no trail of evidence, then there's no trail of evidence. It's that
Yeah.
simple.
JJ, do you have an example from any of these, particularly that you like, would it kind of stick out to you that you can see?
There's definitely a couple. I think in D and dependable, I try to do my best to lead by example, obviously. And what I've recently had to do is really learn a lot about the chamber and roll up my sleeves and get out there and
Yeah.
do some canvassing and
Yeah.
walk into businesses and set up meetings weekly. Every day we're doing a different webinar with different business owners. So there's that aspect of it. But I think for me, it's
Yeah.
I was thinking about, you know, in previous roles and even in current roles where I've always been told that I'm a little too trusting. And that's just feedback that I've been given. So I try to find that balance and that fine line of, you know, having that self-awareness of caring a little too much. And unfortunately it has bit me a couple of times where, you know,
Yeah.
you want to trust people, so you want to get to know them, right? But then sometimes it kind of overflows and it's a little too
Yeah.
much, right? So, you know, there's that balance there. So I'll even give you that example so that, you know, can open up some discussion about maybe some feedback for me in regards to what are some of the things we can do to maybe harness that a little bit.
Say that again. Like clarify what you were just saying again.
Yeah, no, I was just
The
saying
example?
maybe get some feedback from you know, the team here, or just to kind of understand what are some of the things that I can do to maybe harness some of that, so it doesn't seem like, you know, it's a little bit too much, you know, getting to know them too much to where it's a little bit too trusting, I guess. And because like I said earlier, I've been told that, you know, I'm a little too trusting.
Right? It could be as
Yeah.
simple as, hey,
Well, there's a
JJ,
couple.
Lisa said that she called you. Did she indeed call you? I mean, it could be that simple. It doesn't have to be, I mean, did she call you 100 times? It's just a matter of, did she really call you? I mean, it could be that simple. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't. Say that again.
So in other words, if I'm looking for evidence, it may not be an exact number, but Lisa might say, oh, you know, I talked to JJ, and then I go to JJ and say, hey, did Lisa talk to you? I'm not looking for an exact
Yeah.
number. I'm just looking for,
It's not
verification.
about being. Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's cool.
that sort of thing.
So about the caring too much and trusting too much, there's that's really kind of an interesting thing, because a lot of people, when they talk about the way that like a lot of people would talk about values, the way you should handle things is others before yourself. And the something I learned when I was do that, if you say you're doing that, then you often get yourself mixed up and aren't able to take care of yourself. And so somehow actually taking care of yourself is the best way to take care of others. And so trusting to a certain extent is really cool, because if you're actually reaching out there and, you know, extending a little bit of a trust beforehand, that's good. And I think it's more helpful on a specific situation to kind of explain it. But another thing is some people try to, there's some dangers with the trust in that that people might try and share too much with you in a sense that they're trying to, that's things that they have not quite got control of themselves, you know, emotion. And this is an emotional thing. And if they haven't quite covered it themselves or like figured it out before, they might be trying to grab your trust in a way in order to like pull you in. I'm not too sure. That's what came to my mind when you're talking about it, but I don't know if that's really what you're talking about. And as far as businesses and stuff, you know, clarity really helps of like, you know, this is what we're saying, this is what we're doing. This is what we want. And I think a lot of people are afraid to talk about money, especially in the business world, which is kind of weird, you know, because that's really one of the things that connects us. It's our way of building trust, is like, you believe that I'm going to return value, which was a cool thing to say. And the value connection and stuff. And sometimes it's just good to get a little more clear about, all right, this is exactly what I'm saying. That way, later on, there's not all the discussion about whether that was something important or not. And that's kind of a cultural thing too, because in some communities, in the U.S., I should probably say in the white U.S., money is a pretty standard thing to do. Like you can usually talk about, but like in other countries, I was talking to this anthropologist in Dominican. He was down in the Dominican Republic, and he was talking about how he was trying to pay for some wood that some people had supplied him for his fire, but they wouldn't let him pay him until like later on. They kind of got in trouble because they were taking the wood from a location that was, it was like rainforest or some sort of protected land, but they were poor, and so they were just using what they could, and so they kind of got in trouble, and they thought because he was a white guy that he could come in and help them out, and since they hadn't quite paid for their wood yet, they sort of felt like they had, like he would owe them something beyond the money, and so it's like this interesting, because money is this weird contrivance that we've come up with that is really powerful, but at the same time, it's not always the most powerful thing. Most of the time it's not, but it's a handy tool, and I consider it just a tool for communicating. And so I don't know your specific situations, but if it has to do with like, this exchange of different values, clarifying what those values are will help you trust. Like, being clear about what my values are at this particular discussion time is something that helps bring up the trust that this discussion time will be useful to those who come, and it'll be a good thing for people to come to. And I'm working on that, clarifying what it is. And that's one of the reasons I repeat it numerous times. So in your time repeating it, that's a great question. I really like it. And it's a great thing to explore more. We got to the 50 mark. So we're going to do asks now, if we may. And so I want you to think about what it is that would be kind of like your big ask. I want to reach out about Lisa. You talked about talking to HR people. Has anyone actually followed up with that?
Not yet. I'm still looking for HR consultants. The one that I had been talking to decided to go work she got an offer to work at one of the major PEOs.
What's a PEO?
So a PEO is a really helpful thing for small businesses. Essentially what they do is they employ, so you pay them for employees and you have control over the hiring and the firing and all of that, but you're paying the PEO. So what the PEO is able to do is they have a bunch of employees, because a lot of small companies are customers of the PEO. So they get better rates on like health insurance and other benefits because they have a much larger group that they're dealing with, because they have hundreds and hundreds of employees from small businesses. Wow. So it can be a way to it can be a way to offer better benefits to your employees.
What's the acronym PEO stand for? Maybe you said it and I didn't hear it.
What is PEO?
I'll look it up then.
I feel like I know this, but it's still kind of early for me, as you know. So,
Lisa, what do you need? Because we have a HR person I can refer your way.
So we're looking for people who run their own HR consulting companies, who do like, one of the terms that I've heard is a fractional head of HR, because a lot of our clients are big enough that they need some HR assistance, but they do not need a full-time HR person or even a part-time HR person. They just need somebody kind of, professional employer organization. I don't know where my brain is this morning.
I understand. Trust me, I understand that one.
So for our clients who don't utilize PEOs, and there are reasons to not use PEOs, because of course, if you're not using a PEO, you have control over the benefits what specific benefits you offer to the employees, whereas the PEO just offers whatever benefits they offer. Insperity is probably one of the most well-known ones. But anyway, so we're looking for HR consultants, basically
Yes.
people who run their own HR companies that consult, that do B2B. I mean, basically what we do, except with HR, because we have our own in-house payroll service, but we don't do anything HR related. But as you might imagine, running a payroll service, we get HR questions, and that's like asking me legal questions when my legal degree is from Law and Order. It's probably like not the wisest thing ever. So we want,
Even though you really like Law and Order.
I mean, it was an amazing.
You need a PEO specialist?
No, so we're looking specifically for I'd like to meet with people who have their own HR company. So basically somebody who serves the same market that I serve, but specific to New Mexico, because I have HR consultants, but they are not, but I don't have anyone in New Mexico. And of course, every state's labor laws are different. So we want somebody who can field our New Mexico HR questions, because I know enough to be dangerous.
I'm
Okay,
starting to feel
I'll see
like
if
I don't quite understand what this HR thing is. I was just assuming it was like somebody who's in a company and was the HR representative. But you're talking about an actual, like, that is their company. They do
Yes,
even,
they do HR consulting for companies that have usually, some of them start with as low as 10 employees to up to like 200. Well, by the time you get to 200 employees, you might need. But like I have clients who have 50, 60 employees who do not need a full-time HR person. So yeah, there are actually people who run companies that do nothing but HR consulting
Okay,
okay.
for
I was missing-
smaller, well, for not smaller, but 10 to 50.
I was missing a key
But
word there.
yeah, usually they're not, they're doing. So yeah, I'm looking, that's why I'm looking for introduction specific to New Mexico, because
Yeah.
again, I have contacts in other states, but
okay, I'll see, because I think I may have somebody for you. I'll see if she can reach out to you.
That's
That's
great.
good.
Oh, connections. I feel cool. I hope that
Let you guys do your thing.
yeah.
yeah.
Because this is not in my realm, but she's in New Mexico.
Yeah, that's kind of specifically where I am right now, because
Right, she's in New Mexico, so I have your number, so I'll see if. I
Okay.
can-
So with that note, Annie, what's your
Well,
ask?
actually, you know what? Because we're talking about trust, I want to recommend Patrick Lencioni's book on 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. It's a phenomenal book, and it talks about trust as a foundation of overcoming. Because this is something that's really, really cool. Because trust is one of the overcoming trust, or the absence of trust is a very foundation of this book, because there are 5 conflicts that it talks about, absence of trust being one of them, and the vulnerability. It's really a phenomenal book, the way it structures the whole, right? You start with the absence of trust, and it's a pyramid, because without the trust, your company crumbles, right? And then you go from the fear of conflict and lack of commitment and the avoidance of accountability, and then you get to the results. It's an awesome book, and this is something that I've spoken. I do workshops on this, because this is something that I worked with my global team that I had at a manufacturing company, and it's a fantastic book to work through. If you have a dysfunctional team, this is a fantastic book to go through, and it really, really does work. It's fantastic. I did this exercise with my team, with a global team, and you do start with trust, and trust is really about vulnerability. I just kind of want to start there, and then you work through that pyramid to get to the results. And it's I can't say enough good things about it. Patrick Lencioni is a phenomenal speaker.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah,
So-
he's one of the major reasons that I got into my business.
Right? It really is. It's fantastic. I can't say enough good things about it. It's just one of those things. It's a good reference to have, as you know.
And
in your,
they even have a manga version if you'd like.
right? I mean, it's a book that I read and highlighted end to end. Let me tell you, I keep going back to this book every time I, I do anything with projects and
Oh, it's good stuff.
organizational restructuring. I've used it for restructuring in organizations.
Yep.
It's-
So check out the book.
Yeah.
All right. Real quick,
my
Alan, what's your ask?
I'm going to go back to something that you said earlier.
Yeah.
We need to take the advice of the airlines. When those masks drop down, put your own mask on first before you help someone else.
Great.
Taking care of yourself is not being selfish.
That's
And
right.
you can't do anything for anyone if you're not taking care of yourself. So my ask is, please take care of yourselves.
That's great.
And I voted, by the way, Alan, I voted. So they're still
Good.
counting the polls.
Good for you. Good for you. You notice I didn't ask anyone to vote since.
All right, JJ, I'm gonna unmute you, and you're up. What's your ask?
My ask, I guess, is just continue to ask me questions and challenge me. I'm fairly new to the group and want to be consistent. And I ask that you guys visit the chamber page and our Facebook page and just ask me what resources we have and how I can partner and help you guys, for sure.
That's great. Well, I'm glad you're here. And I want to clarify too, so in order to build trust, is one of the things about this group is people don't have to keep showing up each time. It's coming in and out is great, because if we have too many people show up, then we actually will, don't have enough time for everyone to talk. So if you don't show up, you don't have to apologize for not being here. Coming and going is perfectly fine. Even not making the whole meeting like Phil did, in and out. That's the idea, is that we're jumping in, we're building relationships, we're building that trust with each other. And so I encourage you to ask other people to come in and go and talk about it. And I really like that you're looking for challenges, because that's what I thrive on, people who are looking for challenges. Thank you guys all for coming. I'm going to do my little wrap up here if I can get to the right page. Oh, I have to find it again. I just remembered that. So Flight 84 forum, flow preparation. No, that's not going to be the one I want. I'll go to this. There we are. Yeah, so the thing is one day I edit some of these. I used to edit these like the whole time, every time. And after like the first 2 months, I just like, it ate up way too much time. And the real reason I'm doing it is for the practice, and the interactions. And so I'm not editing these out, but this part here would totally be edited out, right? Where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this and look at this thing here. All right, where are we going? Wrapping up. Great. Okay. Then, so next time the meeting is going to be about projects, tools, and techniques, Miss Annie. So we'll do part 2. We'll see how far we get. I'll interrupt you again plenty of times. But Annie is really excited about the project's adaptations that's happening in a particular book or workbook that's going to be coming out in 2021. Big adaptations in the project management world and project leadership world. And then, so a question to ask yourself is, how do you ensure strong finishes? And we'll talk more about that next time. I'm looking forward to it. And again, the place you find that is on, here we are, on Meetup.
When are we having this, Adam? And Lisa, can you send me your contact? Because I thought I had it, but can you send it to me again, Lisa? Or
I'll
send
go
it to
ahead
everyone?
and post it in the chat. Hang on.
Yeah, so then I can send it to my HR contact and you guys can connect.
Yeah, you're going to want to copy and paste my
Right.
email anyway. It's heinously.
Sorry, I thought I had it, but send it again, so I have it for sure.
Yeah.
That's next, Annie. Next week, next Friday.
week?
Will you be
Alright.
there?
Yeah, I can be there, not a problem.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure.
Usually it doesn't matter if you show up or not, but this time I was kind of expecting you. So
Right, well, yeah, because it's, I want to make sure that I, reuse my slides and we could talk about the project management tools and whatnot.
Great.
I'll
Thank you for
expand on
coming.
that.
Thank you for continuing to, invest in
Thank you,
other
sir.
people and invest in yourself, and keep the sparks flowing.
All
You
right.
guys have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Did you get the contact info you wanted, Annie?
yeah, I did. I got it. No problem.
Okay, good.